All right, let's jump right in. Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're taking a seriously thrilling micro to macro journey. We're going to explore exactly how the massive, interconnected modern tech world we all live in literally started in a tiny wooden shed.
Now picture this. It's 1938, and the landscape is, well, it's almost unbelievably different. The Santa Clara Valley was this quiet, sprawling agricultural basin. Folks actually called it the Valley of Heart's Delight, and get this, it produced a staggering 1/3 of the entire world's prunes. Fast forward to today, and that exact same patch of dirt is the undisputed birthplace of silicon and global tech. So how on earth did we get from fruit orchards to the absolute epicenter of modern computing?
Section 1. The Valley of Heart's Delight. Let's look at the geometric nucleus of our story.
Our starting point is what is now officially known as California Historical Landmark No. 976. Back in the day, it was just a modest little property renting for $45 a month. But out back, there was this tiny, freezing 12 by 18-foot wooden garage, armed with nothing but a used Craftsman drill press. The absolutely crucial thing to wrap our heads around here is that the global tech revolution wasn't just some lucky accident. No, this humble 12 by 18-foot footprint was a highly engineered matrix for innovation.
Moving to Section 2, Stopping the Brain Drain and the Terman Mandate.
So back in the 1930s, California had a massive, systemic problem on its hands. Stanford University was churning out these incredibly brilliant engineers, but then they were exporting all that pure brain power straight to legacy East Coast monopolies, giants like GE and AT&T. It was a massive brain drain. But then, enter Stanford engineering dean Frederick Terman. Terman was a visionary. He brilliantly orchestrated a total inversion of this traditional model. He actually convinced a master mechanic named Dave Packard to leave his super-safe corporate job at GE and come back west to team up with a highly intuitive engineer named Bill Hewlett. Terman's master plan? Keep proprietary IP local and seed a self-sustaining tech ecosystem right there in California.
And Terman didn't just casually suggest this. He commanded it. He told them, stay in Palo Alto, merge your distinct talents, and manufacture an independent industrial enterprise of your own. He practically forced Hewlett and Packard to reject the safe corporate path and build something entirely new from scratch.
That brings us to Section 3, the light bulb breakthrough, featuring the Wien Bridge Oscillator.
Picture Bill Hewlett inside that freezing garage, hunched over his master's thesis, trying to solve a huge problem in the industry: unstable audio signal generation. Now, competitors were using these fragile, super expensive vacuum tubes that drifted wildly as they heated up. But Hewett's radical breakthrough? It was the Wien Bridge circuit. He integrated a standard, dirt-cheap, off-the-shelf incandescent pair light bulb right into the circuit. The bulb automatically governed the electrical resistance. If the signal got too hot, the bulb's filament heated up and dampened it. Too weak? It cooled down and amplified the signal beautifully. The result was pure, pristine audio waves.
And because they used cheap, off-the-shelf parts like a literal light bulb, this elegant, minimalist engineering led to one incredibly disruptive number: $54.40. They were able to price their brand new device, the Model 200A, at just $54.40. Meanwhile, competitors were charging anywhere from $200 to over $500. I mean, talk about a game changer. They instantly disrupted the market and democratized precision electronic testing pretty much overnight.
Next up, Section 4, Flipping for the Future. The famous 1939 coin toss.
So the date is January 1st, 1939. Our two engineers are sitting on a shoestring working capital of exactly $538, and they need a name. It's either going to be Hewlett-Packard or Packard-Hewlett. So how do they decide the naming rights for what's destined to become a multi-billion-dollar empire? A literal coin toss, right there in the middle of that cramped garage. Bill Hewlett called it, and he won.
But you know, the real takeaway here is what that simple coin toss actually represents: the HP way. By leaving their brand name up to chance instead of letting ego take over, they set the tone for a radically egalitarian structure. These guys pioneered open-plan offices, employee profit sharing, flexible hours, and a total outright rejection of those militaristic corporate hierarchies that ruled the East Coast. They proved that a collaborative, ego-free environment just works better. Honestly, if you enjoy a flexible, collaborative vibe in your own workplace today, you owe a big thanks to that single flip of a coin.
All right, Section 5, Scaling an Empire, the World War II Breakout.
Their very first massive historical catalyst actually came from Hollywood of all places.
Walt Disney Studios was building this unprecedented surround sound system called Fanasound for their animated masterpiece, Fantasia. To make it work, they needed absolute precision audio across multiple theaters. Disney's engineers found HP's oscillator and ordered 8 custom units. This totally unexpected Hollywood order provided the critical liquid seed cash Hewlett & Packard desperately needed to finally pack up and move out of that tiny garage in 1940.
But the event that permanently transformed them? That was World War II. Just to put this into perspective, in 1939, their total sales were $5,369. By 1943, under the immense, crushing pressure of wartime contracts, revenue absolutely exploded past $1 million. The U.S. military relied heavily on Palo Alto for radar calibration and electronic countermeasures. This forced Packard to build a hyper-efficient manufacturing army, rapidly hiring hundreds of local workers and fundamentally shifting HP from a small local shop into a global industrial powerhouse.
Which brings us to Section 6, the AI continuum, tracing the line from 1939 to today's AI. There is a really fascinating, unbroken structural lineage here. We go from those analog oscillators in a dusty garage in 1939 right through to 1968 when HP introduced the 9100A desktop computing unit. And by the way, they brilliantly marketed that machine as a programmable calculator just to avoid scaring consumers away. And that lineage tracks all the way to the 2020s with enterprise AI infrastructure. Sure, the aesthetics have changed, but that core relationship between academic research, minimal infrastructure, and massive industrial scaling, that has remained completely unchanged.
Just look at today's AI pioneers in San Francisco. They're operating inside low-cost, high-density hacker houses, relying on the exact same collaborative parameters that were pioneered at Addison Avenue. And there's a pretty beautiful irony here, too. The modern AI algorithms running in what we now playfully call Cerebral Valley still deeply rely on the massive server infrastructure manufactured by Hewlett-Packard Enterprise. The literal plumbing of our cognitive era is tethered right back to Bill and Dave's original garage partnership.
Which leaves us with this final, provocative thought. If a sprawling global technological empire can be built inside a 12 by 18-foot wooden shed, what legacy monopolies are ripe for disruption by today's garage innovators? Absolute global power comes from independent minds and collaborative trust, not just massive, shiny infrastructure. Keep that in mind the next time you're struck with a big idea. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep learning.